I knew that, but I figured it was the same word. Maybe they were trying to get it to the part of it. Thank you.
Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the city recorder please call roll?
Mayor Jacola,
Here.
Council President Steinhebel,
Here.
Councilor Dijkstra,
Here.
Councilor Mann,
Here.
Councilor Savage,
Here.
Councilor Rufers,
Here.
Councilor Workman.
Here.
Thank you. Consent calendar. Following consent calendar items are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items unless a councilor so request. In the case, the item will be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. Agenda, Lebanon City Council Agenda, November 8th, 2023. Board meetings from Lebanon Advisory Committee, August 8th, 2023. Parks, Trees and Trails Advisory Committee, July 19th, 2023. Planning Commission, September 20th, 2023. Senior and Disabled Service Advisory Committee, August 16th, 2023. Council meetings from October 11th, 2023. Work and regular session.
Don't mind me, I'm trying to write it down.
Is there a motion?
I so move. I'll second that.
Motion has been made to approve the consent calendar, and it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Public comment. Citizens may address the council by filling out a testimony or / comment card provide prior to speaking and handling it to the city recorder. Each citizen is allotted up to 5 minutes to provide comments to council. The council may take the additional 2 minutes to respond. The city recorder will accept and distribute written comments at speaker's request. So let's get into this. Laura LaRogue. LaRock, sorry, excuse me. Ward 3.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Laura LaRock, and tonight I'd like to talk to you about considering a waiver of all SDC fees for ADU development. ADUs are permitted in the city of Lebanon up to 40% of primary housing size. So the maximum size these typically are just 1,000 square feet. When you put the numbers to 1,000 square foot construction, that includes a kitchen and a bathroom. At today's cost per square foot, that puts these units typically at the 200,000 mark. So any little bit that you can save to help encourage this type of development is encouraged. Primary purpose for ADUs, because there are not very cost effective to build and you don't often recoup your value for the cost of construction. Typically, the people that are building these are to house elderly family members or being a caregiver. So again, this would encourage types of housing that would help with kind of generational living and assistance, and any sort of fee reductions that you can do to encourage that sort of development would be a positive addition for the city of Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick Vinson, Ward 2.
Hello. I am Frederick Vinson. I've been in Lebanon for about 2 years now. I wanted to speak to the appeal to the humanity of the council and the humanity of the community to consider a homeless shelter for our neighbors that can't afford to live in a home that's warm at night. If we saw a person who fell down, we would certainly help them. The images of Gaza show the people trying to dig other people out of the rubble. So I think it would be reasonable to allow our neighbors to stay in a warm shelter at night if they choose to. And I think the community can afford to do something like that. It's just, I don't know, it's perhaps the will to start it and to provide it. They do that in Sweet Home, and I hope they could do that in Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any comments? Next up is Robert Lewis Gully, Ward 3.
Good evening. My name is Robert Gully, and I live here in Lebanon for the last 15 years. I'm a retired respiratory therapist with Samaritan Health Services. I saw a retired nurse today over at St. Martin's Church, where I have been attending, shall we say, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for breakfast that's been served there by a good friend of mine that I worked with at the hospital. And George and Michelle Hamilton have been serving breakfast there, I believe, for about 2 years. And George and I touch base frequently now. We've become good friends, and I appreciate what he's doing. He's told me on several occasions over the last several months, you know, when I started doing this, Robert, I had no idea where it would go, what might develop from it. Well, that nurse, retired nurse, I worked with in the trenches over at the hospital in the ER and ICU. And so she came in today to serve what she, in whatever capacity she could as a volunteer. Legal aid has shown up there over the last couple of months, and mental health has shown up. So this thing has radiated out kind of like a pebble in a pond. And my concern is that there should be some kind of consolidation of the homeless, the unsheltered, those who are not able to take care of themselves completely and require, need, and deserve the services of the community that we all appreciate. One particular concern in my notepad there, to be specific, was I tried to find last night, Googling, what the regulations are for number of nights that there has to be freezing temperatures before someone can utilize a warming shelter. I just wonder where that regulation comes from, or if it exists, and how that could be altered to serve the homeless in a much better fashion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Corbin Tolan, Ward 1.
So I understand that you guys are going to be talking about the council agenda for number 5 about the fluorosilicic acid that our water treatment facility uses. And we've gone through a tour of that water treatment facility, specifically asking for the fluorosilicic acid known as fluoride, which is highly corrosive. And on the very MSDS sheet that I got from that water treatment facility, it puts out health hazards that are on there, potential health hazards of inhalation, as far as it's saying may be harmful if inhaled, materials extremely destructive to the tissue of the mucous membranes and upper respiratory tract. Skin may be harmful if absorbed through the skin, causes skin burns, eyes corrosive on contact, severe irritation, watering, redness, and swelling of eyelids, and ingestion may be harmful if swallowed, causes severe burns. And the whole argument of this being good for our teeth, I kind of reject. So that's why I'm also bringing this up as far as other issues with the budget and maintenance over the plumbing, since this is corrosive. We have over 60 miles of pipe in Lebanon that this basically just degrades at a more accelerated rate. And through the City of Lebanon Consumer Confidence Report that was given by the city, there was a mention of the point in house plumbing being like lead in drinking water is primarily from materials and components associated with domestic service lines and home plumbing. Well, if we're shoving this into the lines, you're just basically accelerating that process of breaking that down and putting it into the water for whoever's household is subject to this. So they have to invest more in filters if they actually want to have clean water. Whereas if you just switch the option to making this optional for people, so instead of subjecting everyone in town to it and giving them the option to privately install this type of substance, controversial substance, into their own households, this would be a much more fair and justified way of actually allowing people to still get this, if they think it's truly good for their teeth, options into that, where you can install tanks that the house water supply is then facilitated off of that, or you can, if you're really going to be cheap about it, you can just put it into a tablet form and drink it. Because again, the only argument that this has in being in our water system is that it's good for, specifically said on this, is for children's teeth health. And this, again, is a constant supply where we're putting it in our gardens, and you're bathing in it, and you are basically putting it in your food. It's nonstop. So if it has health hazards that are right off the MSDS sheet from our water treatment facility, I don't understand why we would be putting this into the water like that. So that's kind of my point for review. And as far as us having a petition for it, that we were going forward to get it put on the ballot, well, instead we basically went forward on installing certain council members that would at least start talking about it, so we can potentially get a vote on either having council vote on this, because I'm not even sure if it was originally voted on, or putting it to ballot so people can actually have the choice to not have everyone subjected to it. So that was all I'm here to say.
Thanks, Corbin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Lindsay Pearson, Ward 2.
Hi, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor and Council. I am wanting to follow up with what Corbin was just speaking on with fluoride. So I have a couple statistics. We've been looking at this for a year and a half. We've brought it to council's attention. We work towards a petition that takes many man hours, and we're all working as you guys are. So I'll just tell you what I found out. So out of the 241 cities in Oregon, 44 are fluorinated. Lynn County is the most fluorinated county, our entire county. When we went to look at the water treatment facility, we spoke with the operators, and they spoke from a personal aspect of letting us know that it's very dangerous to their health. They wear respirators, they wear biohazard suits. And so if we can cut that, that hazard, that work hazard down for them, so that people can individually choose to take fluoride. When I was a child, we took fluoride vitamins because my parents didn't know better then. My children and I do not use fluorinated toothpaste, and there's reasons. My children receive dental care. We are a medical family. I'm a nurse. My children receive the care that they need. Our community is not poverty stricken, which was the reason that they added fluoride to city water, was because people weren't getting the dental care that they needed. Now that's not really an issue that we have. Dental practitioners go to our schools here in Lebanon, throughout Oregon. They're actually visiting my son's school tomorrow at Sandridge Charter School to do dental workup with the kids. And so I just don't see how this is feasible for to only benefit a small population, our children, which of course that's our most prized population, that's our future, but we can provide this in other ways. Good quality dental health. If you feel the need for fluoride, you can add it to your water. You can use toothpaste that has fluoride. Even when you go to the dentist and you get the fluoride treatment, you don't swallow it, you don't ingest it, and it takes our skin 26 seconds to absorb anything that touches it. So think about all the times you are in contact with fluorinated water. When you bathe, when you wash your clothes, when you garden, you're trying to garden so that you have maybe organic produce or healthier produce than you get in the store, and it's fluorinated. There is also the cities that I wanted to mention. Portland isn't fluorinated. Newport, Bend, some of our big cities that have populations that are larger than ours, but similar as far as an overall health capacity. Well, Portland's a little different now. It's a little sketchy over there. But as far as dental health is concerned, this would suit our population to at least put it on the ballot and be able to have everyone vote whether they want it or not. And being able to cut out carcinogens. We know there's a lot of things that are added to our food. And everyone is being hypersensitive of these days. It's all over social media, so people are trying to cut out these different things. This is an easy way. And if you look at just a cost perspective too, I wanted to mention, when we went to the water treatment plant, this was a year and a half ago, I believe, it cost the city roughly $3,000 every 4 weeks just for the fluoride. So just for the chemical, not for the extra staffing, not for suiting up, having an individual that's going to handle this, which I'm sure that's going to add more cost. Now, with prices increasing for everything, I'm sure that's more. So if we're looking at a cost perspective, even we could look at it from there, that would benefit the city. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, I will send you all an email later tonight. I meant to send it to you today, but I would like to request that the city council looks into our city water safety right now, because people have been seeing yellowing in their water. Anyway, just for quality with all of the silt and everything washing down.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Lindsay?
Next, Etta King, Ward 3. Don't worry, I'm getting to you.
Hi, my name is Etta King, and it's really way easier to sit on my couch with my iPad and watch you guys than have to come here and speak.
I agree.
I am from the other side of the fluoride perspective. I firmly believe that we should have fluoride in our water due to the health benefits it does provide. People say, oh, kids get plenty of dental health. There's lots of kids who get help, who get taken care of. There's lots of kids whose parents can't take care of them or don't. They have problems with their teeth that goes forward and lasts them a lifetime and causes great health problems further on. They did attempt to get this on the ballot by doing signatures. They tried to collect them. They never got enough in order to put it on the ballot. They either stopped collecting them. They never got enough signatures to get it on the ballot. We have many other priorities in the city that we should focus on. We should be focusing on the homeless crisis. We should be focusing on providing more money for police. There's other issues other than this one that has been voted on several times and periodically comes up, and then it brings it to you guys' attention again. And I just, as a last thing, I want to let you know that you can find everything you want to know about fluoride for and against on the internet. You just have to decide, is this a source that I trust? Is this a source I believe in? Or is it something that is just out there? Because you can find a perspective on anything, on any side, on the internet at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Tana Nicholson, Ward 2.
Hannah Nicholson, if you guys don't know, my house is ground house zone 0 for the city of Lebanon. That means if my house doesn't pass water, nobody in Lebanon gets water, period. There's another house on Mary Street. If they don't pass, half of the city doesn't get water. My family has lived in our home. We are the original owners for almost 50 years now. We have been walking in and calling into the city where you pay your water bill, not knowing that there was anybody else to speak to. Calling everybody there, literally every single time there's a hard rain, my dad and our neighbor Dan had to get out the bleach and the push brooms and scoop and shovel and push and wash the sewer and the toilet paper out of our street from the manhole in front of our house. It went on for decades. One of the projects did stop it, so it is now in the last decade. We're not having to do that. Very grateful that y'all found that issue, okay? But every month, when I was a little girl, I went with Daddy to go pay bills. Every single month, my dad would walk in there. And my dad's pastor-in-law was a pastor for decades. We love this community. We've given it our whole lives to this community. He went in there and would say, there's something wrong with our water. There's something wrong with our water. We have this color water. We have that color water. We have issues. There's something wrong. It's eating our house. Please help us. Look, we have all these leaks happening. Our street is crumbling. Our driveways are crumbling. The street's falling in. There's stuff going on. We told them and told them and told them. Nobody heard us. Okay? Even the employees would write notes and they would go in. There's this little door back there. They would go give it to the Wizard of Oz. We have no idea who that was. And then we tried calling also, and then the mean lady wouldn't take her 5 seconds. And they were like, we already told you everything's just fine. We have lived this for almost 50 years. I gave you pictures. Michelle, did you see every picture?
I did, yeah.
Okay, thank you. We don't need these 1,500 pages that had to be sued and sued and sued from the White House. That's the source where these 1,500 pages came from, was from the White House. They did a massive study over all these studies. This is just the neurological damage of fluoride. Just the neurological. That's what they're dealing with in these 1,500. They're still crunching numbers on this. All right? We are living this. And we are sick. And this is not just our house. We live at the dead end. We are the end of the city. We have no flow past our house. It is capped off. The pipes are capped off. So however many pounds in IBC tolls of all the city's chemicals land at our house on our street, in our 15th street. Guys, it's bad. All right? And nobody has listened. I accidentally started getting help because I read the PFAS, because somebody told me out at the street, because they're in my yard a few times a week testing. They said, have you seen this? I accidentally hit a link and it says, do you want more information? I hit it. It says, you want to call? I hit it. Somebody answers the phone. I thought I was talking to the journalist. I didn't know. And I told him, and within an hour, I got a phone call from Jason. All right? He's trying to help us, but now they're trying to bulldoze right through our organic garden. And we are two widows, and we can't afford organic. We've literally gotten allergic to hundreds and hundreds of things. We can't, it only took me a matter of months of moving back into my childhood home before I started toppling. And now I have the most complex medical file, just like my mother. Guys, and that's just us. And we have been trapped in this hell of chemicals landing at our house that nobody's done anything about. All right, these other studies, how dangerous. There is zero safety for any animal. The study is there in front of you. For any animal to ingest fluoridated water, read it for yourself. There's kidney damage. There's a study of kidney damage. There's a study there of adolescent kidney damage. Please, I will email you. I tried to pre-email this to you, these 1,500 pages from the White House in the big studies, okay? I did. He said it was too big, but I found somebody who's gonna help me get it to you so you can see for yourself. that is just a snippet of how our family's been destroyed in all our plumbing and our driveways and our ramps and every water system. And it's not my house, it's our neighbors' houses are exactly the same way too. City's chemicals, they have no place to go but into our homes. Just help us.
Thank you.
Jana.
Moving into presentations, annual risk report, Darren Golfrey, HUD International Northwest LLC.
Hello. How's everyone? Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly good. Thank you for having myself. I'm Darren Godfrey with Hub International. I represent the property and casualty insurance risk program for the city. I have with me Xander Darcy. He is representing the workers' compensation portion of this report. Mike Godfrey is out of the country, and so Xander is filling in for him. I would like to share my screen. I believe, I've sent this report to the city. I'm assuming you guys all have copies of it in front of you, but if I could share my screen, that'll probably make it easy on everybody. So I'm assuming
Yes,
I
it
can do
would.
so. Okay, yeah. It doesn't, I think you have to allow me to share.
I think he's working on it right now.
Okay.
We
all right.
do have it in front of us if you want to continue until you can.
Yeah, if you want me to, if you don't want me to continue until we get that part figured out, or until I can
It
share.
looks like you can share it now.
Okay, let me look here. Oh, okay. Here we go. I'm assuming you have it up on your screen. Is it visible? Do I need to increase it? Do I need to zoom in or zoom out?
We don't see anything.
Yeah.
We see you.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Let's see here. I'll get this
There we
figured out.
go.
There you go.
Now we got it.
Okay. Is that visible?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is a 30,000-foot view, if you will, of the coverages that are in place. The following screens or slides will show specific 5-year histories. Okay, so everything's based on a 5-year history dating back to 2018, 2019 policy period that started July 1st, 2018. Now we do show a 2023-24 policy period here. But when it comes to claims or when it comes to things of that nature effective July 1st of 2023, obviously we're just starting that first quarter and those losses or those claims or lack of, because we haven't had much activity at all, which is great. They won't be shown on those slides. So this is an overview of the coverages in place, starting with the property, and moving all the way down through. I can list them all, but they're in front of you, whether it's the mobile equipment, boiler machinery equipment breakdown coverage, the earthquake coverage that we have on City Hall, along with the crime liability, otherwise known as tort liability or general liability, auto liability, physical damage coverage. These will all show the 5-year history of the premiums, the deductibles, and any potential or any losses that have been paid within those categories. And that'll get shown in detail in the following slides. We also purchase excess, cyber liability coverage, which has been an issue over the last few years, as everyone's probably had some kind of cyber related matter personally. We do have an accident policy in place. We do have a tank policy in place for the water treatment plant, which is the tank, the diesel tank. And then, of course, we have our crime coverage, which is built into our city insurance services program through the crime coverage. In the past, those were specific bonds that were purchased for city manager, finance director, those types of positions that had a financial position within the city. So this is an overview, again, of those coverages. If we have any questions, we can have questions at the end of this, or if it's a detailed claim related question, then that could be sent to me, through Brandon or whatever, through an email format, if you will. So the following screens basically show from 18 to recent 9/27 to 2023, approximate property premiums and losses. And as you can see, the city has done very, very well, knock on wood, in terms of its lack of property losses. We just haven't had any other than back in 2020, 2021. Very profitable. Very nice to see that there aren't any property losses. And so definitely the safety and the safety team has been not acknowledging, but the safety team has done a great job in maybe addressing, maintenance issues and things of that nature, roofs, that kind of thing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm looking at property here.
Okay.
And from 2018 to current, we've had very little in the way of claims.
Correct.
Yet I'm looking at our premium going from 69,000 up to 148,000 with almost no claims. Why is that?
Well, there's a number of factors. For one, our property values have gone from about 80 million back in 2018, and now the property value insured limits is 133 million. Okay, so we haven't quite doubled our property valuation. Over the last 5 years, there's been a huge boom in reconstruction costs, whether that's material costs and or labor costs. So you will find—
I understand that.
Yeah, you will find that
we've had almost no losses.
Yeah. Well, but you're also in a pool. Okay. So we're taking on the losses of all members. We're taking on the risk of being in a pooled program where property losses have occurred within the membership of CIS's program. And so we take on some of that exposure as well. But you also—
like private insurance, if I have Allstate, if they have a huge loss in Florida because of a hurricane, I'm going to pay for it up here now.
You will. You will have we will all have an adverse effect due to what's called the reinsurance treaties that every carrier has. And reinsurance—
I understand reinsurance. I've done insurance for 20 years. That's why
Okay,
I'm asking
well,
the
then I don't
questions.
need to explain to you the reinsurance issues and the raising costs of reinsurance to the carriers. That is passed on to you and I.
Not everybody here is in insurance, so you might want to explain it.
I'm not sure presenting this to us as extremely profitable is the best approach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
It is what it is. You're profitable, you're good, but we also have values that are higher and we have property rate increases. So, I'm glad that you're profitable to the carrier on the property line. The carrier's appreciative of being, profitable on the property line, but they also have 133 million on them. So, if you've been in the insurance world for 20 years, you understand the risk and you understand the exposures. So
I also understand profit.
Any other comments, questions?
Not that we're going to get an answer.
Okay, go ahead and continue, please.
Yep. Tort liability, 5-year history. Back to 2018. 2018 was a bad year. We had $517,016 of paid claims. They received premiums of $107,000. Up to current year, last 3 years have been liability free. So we haven't had any paid claims, which is very good, obviously, last 3 years. Really last 4 years, because we had a low year in 2021 in terms of paid liability claims. The losses that have occurred in the past have mostly been coming from the police department, which is normal. Typically public works and police, ambulance, fire are where liability claims for cities are typically generated. And that's where most claims will come from. This will show what departments have been the responsible department for the last 5 years of losses. Auto liability had a bad year, 2019, 2020. We've had good 4 years, 3.5 years actually, 3 years, 3 months of history, of good history. And those losses have been generated again by these departments. In this particular case, we had losses in the transit department. Auto physical damage, again, I'll say very loss free for the most part on the physical damage claims. And those have come from primarily the police department. Typical, when you're doing pit maneuvers and you're dealing with a lot of different fleeing vehicles, things of that nature, that's the auto physical damage for most cities is in the sheriff's department, police department, and in some cases, of course, public works. They have street sweepers and buses and things of that nature that tend to back up and hit things, especially with a lot of narrowing streets. We always have a lot of problems with physical damage claims for transit-related matters. In terms of the claims, this will show a breakdown. We've had 59 claims over the last 5 years. Years 2018, obviously, through 2020 were the primary loss years over the last 5 years. So total 59 claims. Incurred costs have been a little over 1.1 million over that time period, and the average cost per claim is just averaging just under $19,600. These are where the departments, this is just another summary by the type of claim, where the claims are coming from, whether it's the liability, physical damage, or auto liability and or property. This will show where the claims are being paid. In this case, majority of the losses are, again, like we discussed before, are in the liability side, dating back to the 2018 to 2020 policy year. This will also show you just the average per claim for each line of business. That's kind of on the property and casualty side, kind of an overview of where we're at. Obviously, you know, when it comes to the safety committee, I think, you know, quarterly meetings, which I know that we're starting to set up on the work comp side and that type of thing. I think those things will help in the risk and help manage the risk and some frequency issues. If I see there's frequency issues with the rest of my cities that I insure, usually I'll bring it to the attention of the safety department. And then we'll go through maybe needed trainings whether it's backup training, video training, driving training. Typically, those are a lot of what most cities will want to have for their drivers and for their employees that are in a driving capacity. So I think we're going to further that discussion here just after the first of the year and get on board with quarterly meetings. I do that with all my other cities, and it's really it's been a success in terms of keeping control of frequency related matters. You know, shock losses do happen. Large losses can occur. And so, frequency will lead to severity in most cases, at least by most insurance companies' loss control analysis. They'll tell us that. Everyone probably, it makes common sense that a lot of frequency will lead to eventual severity issue, and we just don't want that to happen. So I think we're going to look at working towards more quarterly safety meetings and trying to control any frequency issues we might see. Luckily, right now, we haven't seen much. That's what I have on the property and casualty side. I'll let Xander go through the work comp, and then we can just have some questions afterwards if there are any questions. If there's detailed questions regarding claims or incidences, and I don't have it in front of me, I'll have to get back to the city and the people there to answer those. So I'll leave it over to Xander right now. Xander,
hey everybody, hope you guys are doing well this evening. Just, quick little blurb on workers' comp and for the city of Lebanon. And, the first page is essentially the last 5 years of claims, standard premium, reserves. So if you look at that first graph of standard premium, the thing to keep in mind with the 2023 is that it's showing the prorated premium for the 2023 policy year since it just started in July. So it's only showing that, that 39,000 to date, even though SAFE anticipates about 138,000 for premium. So it will be up closer to the 2022 year. The reason for the increase in the standard premium is really directly related to the experience mod increase, as you can also see that down below. For those that aren't familiar with the experience mod, essentially the National Compensation Council of Insurance, they will take an entity like yourselves, compare it to another entity, similar payroll, similar employees, similar work. They come up with 1.0 as the average. And then anything below a 1.0 is considered a credit experience mod, which is where the city was in, anywhere from 18 to, 20. And then the last couple of years, it has spiked up over that 1.0. Last year, it was a 1.18. And this year, we're currently at a 1.20. It's really that 2020 policy year in terms of the claims. We had more claims than expected. And then there were some expensive claims in there. And the way the NCCI handles your claims costs and to calculate that data, they take the first 18,500 of every claim, and that gets directly calculated into the experience mod. And then after that, then it's a smaller percentage. So oftentimes frequency is more of a killer for folks on their experience mod than one really expensive claim. So when you look at the incurred costs on anything related to workers' comp, essentially what that means is that means they're including the reserves for the claims. The state of Oregon requires the carriers, in this case, it's Safe Corporation, but you're required to have reserves on the claims for the life of the claim. So if someone had a real severe injury, they have to set reserves for that claim for the life of what was accepted. And so oftentimes when we have some bigger injuries, outstanding reserves, that's when you'll see those incurred costs a lot higher than when you look at the paid to standard loss ratio. That's essentially just what's been paid out on each of those claims. And as again, you'll see that 2020 years is kind of what ticked us up. In general, I would say claim frequency in the city of Lebanon does a really nice job. You guys are almost always at expected or slightly.
Sir, just so you're aware, our city name is Lebanon, not Lebanon.
I'm sorry.
It's just like, it's hard to hear, so thank you.
No, that's problem. No problem. I'm sorry about that. That so with claims frequency, we see typically we're at the expected. Every year it's about 8 claims expected for the city. And we're usually right there or right under. So far this year, we've expected to have 2 claims up to this point, and we have 2 claims so far, 1 time loss claim versus 1 expected. And those are, so right now I'd say, we're doing as we should be. And the where we are in terms of loss ratios for the current year, with reserves, we're at 40%, but the paid to standard is 13%. So, all in all, I would say that we're doing really well in terms of our claims and the management of those claims. I do anticipate for the 2024 policy year that your experience mod will go down to about a 1.07 based on the current claims losses as we see them today. Okay, any questions before we go to the next page?
What's a target for what our loss ratio would be?
And target is
what range are we
40% or less typically is what the underwriters want to see. Because that way that's where we want to be when it comes to loss ratios and workers' comp.
Thank you.
And then the next screen is really just kind of showing you by department where the claims are coming in. As typical, the police and fire are typically what we see for public entities as the claims drivers for cities, just because of the exposure that they have in their day-to-day, business and life. So this is not out of the ordinary by any means for a city of your size. And then you would see public works and parks management is where you often see the other claims coming in, and that's kind of what this is showing. I would say in general, in terms of rates and Safe Corporation, they're remaining stable across the board. We don't anticipate any increases, except for police and fire. We anticipate potentially a 2 or 3% increase in those particular class code rates for the 2024 policy year. But other than that, everything's been, as we expect and running really steady and firm. Any other questions?
No questions? No comments? All righty. Would like to thank you for the presentation, and we'll take it into consideration.
Yep. Thank you very much. Would you like us to leave the meeting now, or do you want us to stay on?
There's no reason for you to stay on. There's no questions, so
Okay.
you're more than free to go do something else.
All right. Y'all have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so
You
much.
too. Thanks. Next up is for presentations, Republic Services, Julie Jackson.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to talk to you, as I usually am this time of year, about rate adjustment. As always, we use an index methodology that we call a refuse rate adjustment. This has been about for the last 10 years. This year, because fuel is one of the indexed components in this rate adjustment, and we look at the year-over-year change.
Can you pull the microphone a
Oh,
little bit
sure,
closer?
of course. How about now?
Better.
We look at year-over-year change. Because fuel dropped so significantly this year, we're seeing just a 1% adjustment. And that's really the intent of this process, is to have smaller incremental increases on a more, on a yearly basis or close to a yearly basis, rather than those large increases that we for every couple of years. So those would be 7 to 9%. I think 1% is a really good one for this year. It equates to about 25 to 41 cents.
Bill
Is it-
wasn't
It
even
wasn't on.
Oh, there you go.
Do you want me to repeat any of that? I'm happy to. Okay, okay. So we're there. Last year, we talked about a shortage of drivers. We're really happy to report that we have, we've sort of solved that, cracked that code somewhat. We have a number of drivers, and we have, I think we have one open driver position right now in our Albany division. So that's great. We also implemented a driver training program where we took some folks in and helped them train and get their CDL and paid for the cost of that, and that's been a good program as well. We did agree to a low-income assistance program. That has been more difficult both in Lebanon and Albany, as we agreed to both of those, but I can tell you that we are up and running with that now. So anyone who qualifies for the low-income assistance program for city services would also qualify for ours. They need to call and ask for it, but they also qualify. And so we are getting a list from the city, and we know who qualifies and who can be on our program as well. So that's another great one. The other thing I wanted to update you with is last year at this time, there were some concerns over not having a place to dispose of electronics and large amounts of cardboard and a few other things. So we set up 4 events in the last year to come, and what we do is we bring over a large drop box and some employees, and we will take those materials on a Saturday afternoon. I think we go from 9 to 2. We did that 4 times last year. Once on February 14th, or it wasn't probably on the 14th. We had 14 people at the first one in February. In May, we had 24 people bring material. In August, 52 people. And just last weekend in November, we had 2 people. So we're wondering what you'd like us to do going forward with that. Those are also, I should say, in addition to a hazardous waste event that we do in May, and we've been doing for a number of years. We only had 37 people at that hazardous waste event. So I guess we're really open to input from the council. We'd like to know what you'd like us to do. We had 4 employees running the event because we do take appliances and electronics, large items, last Saturday for 2 people to show up. That wasn't probably the best use of time, but we're open to whatever you'd like us to do, actually. And we're open to new ideas if you have a better idea.
Is there a way on those events? I know I get like a semi-annual newsletter telling you about that, but by the time the event rolls around, it's not something I remember, or it's not something I have hung on my refrigerator. Those events, I think more people may take advantage of if there was some type of reminder closer to the event. I don't know if that's a postcard sent out or if that's an email. A lot of people do paperless billing.
Right.
You already have that information on file. You could send us a reminder.
Yeah, we could do an email. I will tell you, we try very hard not to do a lot of actual paper mail outs. What we find, if you stand at the post office, for example, on the day that those come out, is they're all over the floor and they're in the trash and the recycling. And so we find that people really don't want a bunch of extra stuff in the mail. So we do some call blasts. We did a couple call blasts for these where we called everybody. We put it on the reader board at the chamber. We had some cards that we printed up. But I think we could do a better job with some social media And we also provided it to the city to put on the city's social media and websites as well. We have a local micro site. So if you put in Republic Services Albany, because it's the Albany division, you'll get to our local website, and it also has a list of all of those. All of you also should be getting a calendar by the end of December that will have a calendar of events throughout the year, and it'll give you those dates as well. So, yeah,
I think we had another question.
sure.
So I know that, this is city of Lebanon, but I know there's a lot of us that live just outside the city.
Sure.
Was-
We
are
wouldn't
these-
be asking people where they
No,
live.
but is it for the notifications? Are people getting notified? I mean, it seems to me that would make more sense to kind of be a regional, like within a certain, if you're looking
I
to make
think
it more
they-
used to your.
Yeah, they tend to
benefits.
operate that way. We've held hazardous waste events in Albany on an annual basis for years and years, and we think they really are Lynn County events. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to think about how we could get it out to everybody. Of course, it can go on the calendars. The calendars are the easy way, but not everybody is looking at those calendars. So yeah, I mean, we're happy to look at that. We're not real concerned if you live 2 blocks out of Lebanon and you come to these events. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Sorry, I don't usually have questions, but
It's okay.
I was just trying to remember, last year we talked about, and you may have come back and reported on this already, and maybe there's no update, and that was kind of the end of it. We were talking about a program for individuals who couldn't afford and could apply for a waiver or something for the low income type of a situation to assist low income when they, can't quite pay for the.
Yeah, so we have implemented a discounted rate for a 32-gallon cart for those folks who qualify for city low-income services, then they qualify for us too.
And is that being utilized?
Does that mean who?
Is that being utilized? Is that something that people are taking
We do have
advantage
some
of?
Lebanon folks who have implemented that service, yes.
It might be worth, and council, tell me if I'm wrong, but obviously no specific information, but like general numbers about how that may be assisting Lebanon folks in the area.
If you'd like, I can come back after the first of the year and bring you some numbers about how that works and how many, we didn't get an entire list. We just get a list from the finance department of the people who are currently on the program. It's my understanding that those programs sort of renew, people reapply for those programs in October, November through Community Services Consortium. And that then at the beginning of the year, there'll be a whole new batch of people. So we anticipate getting a pretty good sized list. We do ask that those people call us to set those services up because we just don't have the people to do that. But if at the consortium, they are telling them when they sign up, when they apply for services for city services or electric or power services, that they can also apply with us.
And this has nothing to do with the rates today, but I do want to just mention for the council that Republic is working with the county and the folks on Porter Street on that cleanup. We know it's not inside the city of Lebanon, but we do I'm involved with the estate that's trying to help get it cleaned up, and the county who we're working cooperatively with, and Republic has been generous in their, they're not doing it for free, which, I kind of would have preferred, but yeah, I understand that part of it.
We haven't seen how much
But they
it's
have
gonna be
worked
yet.
that, they
It's a
have
lot.
been generous in some situations to assist with the Porter Street cleanup. So I wanted to make sure the council was aware of that.
The other thing I wanted to report back on too, just kind of as a reminder to get it done again. I think Councilor Elfers, you were asking about the soup kitchen. They've been having some
I was just
issues
gonna
with their,
address that, yeah.
yeah, with their dumpster. They were on an on-call basis. They were trying to save some money, which we absolutely understand. But on-call services for somebody who deals with that much food and that many meals is not a very good situation. And so I visited with them. We said, obviously, you need weekly service. We encouraged them to apply for a grant, which was approved, and we will continue to approve that grant each year. So their services are paid for, and I think they're not getting that mess on the ground, and they're not having to call somebody to get services.
We don't have the stench either.
That, it just makes you a good neighbor that way. One other quick thing I want to address. I know we have talked about customer service issues in the past, and we've also, during COVID and after COVID, had a really big problem. But what I can tell you is we have double the number of people. We have what's called an Oregon pod of people. They're not sitting in our Albany office, but they all work remotely. They seem to like working remotely and are doing a good job. So last year at this time, we had 14 people in that Oregon pod. This year we have 30 at this point, and we have added a second supervisor. So while you're shaking your head at me and you may have had an experience that wasn't good, I can tell you that the statistics are far better this year than they were a year ago.
I'll explain it to my wife, who spent 56 minutes till her phone died on hold for you guys last week.
I apologize for
I
that.
was trying not to say anything.
I will
but
bring you,
brought it up.
but I'll bring you some statistics. I think that's becoming the anomaly, and we're sorry, obviously, for that. But I think doubling the number of people answering the phone. Of those people, I hear this all the time. Well, somebody in Arizona answered my call. That isn't probably true. 20 of those people who are in the Oregon pod live in Oregon. And the other 10, we think, are mostly from Texas. But they have been trained just to answer the Oregon calls. So they like working for the Oregon lines. I don't understand that, why the Texas people do, but they do.
But are they trained to say our city name properly?
I don't know, but you know what? We have what
Goes
what
a
are
li-
called
a
the
little goes a
county
long way.
Documents, and we can actually put a little note on there and spell it out
Since I've been the
phonetically.
bad guy today, I just thought I'd throw that out
Well,
there.
you
It
know
might
what?
be
You could
something to
send me-
add to the call, you know.
How do you
the
show
answer
that
from Lebanon.
phonetically?
And
If we
there's
could
no
show them
email.
phonetically, I'd be happy to put that on there, because I too find that, Albany has the same issue as Albany half of the time. So, we find that same issue in a lot of things, and it is irritating. I totally agree.
Well, thank you for humoring me.
So, yeah. So anyway, any questions for me?
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Next up is Lebanon Chamber of Commerce, Rebecca Grizzle.
Lebanon.
I almost said it.
She better say it right.
Welcome to Lebanon,
And right?
the city that friendliness built.
So friendly.
Good evening, council. Rebecca, President, CEO of the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce. As with most cities, the city contracts with an entity, a visitors association. In our case, it is the Chamber of Commerce, to host a visitors association. So what we're asking tonight is for a contract amendment. You'll be happy to know we're not asking for any more money. This money comes, as you know, but for the benefit of the audience, as a transit room tax from the hotel stays here in Lebanon. That has to be spent on tourism activity. And so we administer some of that via our contract in tourism grants for local community organizations, and some of it for operating expenses for an actual physical tourism site. So as with everybody else, our expenses are up quite a bit. And so we're asking to adjust our contract to $500 a month from this pot that would be administered in grants to be able to keep the visitor center operating, which will have a new visitor center by spring, by the way. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about that.
What do we lose with that?
You lose
What do we lose for the $7,000? I mean, there was something being done with that $7,000
Sure.
before. It's not gonna be
Currently,
that.
that's being held in a pot to be redistributed to local organizations that come for tourism grants. Those grant requests have been down at this point. So right now, we're sitting on a balance of about $70,000 there. So there is no shortage of being able to hand these grants out. We're working with organizations to try to encourage them to apply for more grants. But so the city's not out anything really. Technically, does that answer that question?
Yeah, I just didn't know there was the buffer.
Yeah.
So it just rolls over if you wouldn't have needed it and you wouldn't
Correct.
have needed
It
it.
just
at the end.
sits in an account right now.
I got you.
Earning very little.
Pot
but
one to pot B.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any
Is
more
the cost
questions.
increase for running the Chamber of Commerce, is that mostly just payroll expense increase?
Everything is up. I mean, you name it, heat, garbage. Sorry. No, so, oh, our rent, yeah, we are renting from the Morley Thomas Law Office right now in our temporary location. It's insufferable. But no, we're very grateful to be there. And so just in general, expenses are up. And so as we were going through our budgeting process, we were like, you know what? And frankly, this will bring you to $42,000 a year, which, you know, in most other cities, a lot of other cities have a lot more hotel transient room tax income. So mostly, like, I think the Albany Visitor Center, don't quote me, but I think the city funds them to the tune of about 400,000, maybe a little bit more. It's expensive to have a person with a computer in a heated office with internet and be able to service folks day to day. So, any other questions?
Any other questions, comments?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Rebecca doesn't need to stay up here for this, but I think we can do that if the council addresses that. I don't think we have to do a new agreement or contract. I think we did a change previously by just doing a simple addendum. So if council, when they want to talk about the change in the allocation, that is in the contract, so we would just need to put something in writing.
Mhm.
It can be done by a simple addendum, if you choose to do it.
Yeah.
All righty. Okay, we'll move into public hearing. We only have one tonight, comprehensive plan map amendment and zone map amendment. Public hearing is now open at 7:06. Will the city attorney please read the hearing procedures?
Yes, tonight's hearing will be pursuant to the quasi-judicial procedures set forth under 8 ORS 197.797. At the start of the hearing, council members will be asked to disclose any ex parte communications, conflict of interest, or bias. If you have any questions about that, or if it is or isn't one of those, please feel free to ask. The applicable substantive criteria for the hearing will be addressed in the staff report to council. Testimony may be in oral or written form, but must be directed towards the criteria outlined in the staff report, the comprehensive plan, or the city's land use regulations. Any issue raised must be accompanied by statements and evidence sufficient enough to allow the council and party members an opportunity to respond. Please note that failure to raise an issue, including constitutional issues, by the close of the hearing will prevent any appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals.
Thank you. Do any counselors wish to declare ex parte contact, conflict, or bias? Is there anybody in the audience that objects to the notice that was sent in this case or to the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider this case? Will the Community Development Director present the staff report?
Good evening, sir. Before the council tonight is a proposed comprehensive plan map and zoning map amendment for a property on the northwest corner of Stoltz Hill Road and Airport Road. The property is 1.1 acres in size. Currently, the property designation is residential mixed density. The proposal is to change the designation to mixed use. This proposal is as part of a development proposal that was reviewed before the Planning Commission last month to develop a gas station and mini mart at the intersection. The Planning Commission reviewed the development proposal as well as the comprehensive plan map and zoning map amendments and identified to recommend approval of the map and comprehensive plan to the City Council, as well as approved the development contingent upon the zone and comprehensive plan change. The general basis for the comprehensive plan change is included in the staff report and the attachments. Generally speaking, to be able to be eligible for a comprehensive plan map amendment, there needs to be a change in policy or consideration from the city in comparison to what was previous. The staff report outlined several changes that had occurred. Number one, the previous transportation system plan that included a bypass around the city to put traffic towards the southern end of the city was removed as part of the new transportation system plan, which makes Airport Road a major corridor for routing traffic around the city and beyond downtown before it gets to the highway. In addition to that, the Planning Commission reviewed the requests to consider expanding opportunities for gas stations in the city 2 years ago, and reviewed the proposal, identified that it was appropriate, and processed a zoning code amendment, which was also approved by the city council. And then finally, as part of the most recent economic opportunity analysis, Airport Road was specifically called out as a potential increase in opportunity for commercial uses, and was identified as appropriate to target commercial rezoning for Airport Road specifically. So with those changes in policy direction through the comprehensive plan, the proposal is eligible for the proposed amendment to mixed use to allow for greater commercial activity along Airport Road. So before you tonight is that proposal. As I said, the Planning Commission made a recommendation unanimously to have the City Council approve it. And that concludes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions of council?
I have one question. So obviously in the report, and we all know this, that a light is planned for that intersection. Do we know that that's going to go in before this development, should it be approved tonight? Or is anything contingent on that being there before it can be built?
Absolutely. As part of the development proposal that the Planning Commission approved, a transportation impact analysis was conducted. The conclusion of that traffic impact analysis identified that the light had to be installed and operational before the new commercial use would be able to have occupancy.
Okay, that's
Where-
good to
Where
know.
do we stand with that light, or do we stand?
We're still working through the process on that.
Okay.
So we'll have more details as we move forward, but kind of been waiting on some of this stuff to happen as well as the right-of-way issues that we're dealing with. So
That still hadn't been solved, the right-of-way stuff,
we're still working through those issues, yes.
in 2 years.
Yes.
Any other questions of staff?
I have one. Once, if the zone change is approved, will the development have to go before the Planning Commission, City Council, or will it just be a administrative review?
So the development proposal was actually processed concurrently with this zone change. The Planning Commission already reviewed the development and identified that if the zone change goes through, then it is compliant with the development code and it is approved with a condition that says it is contingent upon council's approval. So after tonight, if council approves it, all land use actions are completed and you would move to the development phase once the intersection is eligible.
I see.
I'm not sure I know how to ask this question, but you're used to me asking questions like this. We did a traffic study. Does that traffic study include what happens to the traffic? Let's say that gets heavier and people reroute to other areas. Does it go that in depth?
It goes in depth through our engineering department. They evaluate the anticipated traffic flows and ensure that as part of the traffic impact analysis, certain intersections are evaluated beyond just the scope of the immediate one. And then traffic mitigation measures are included to ensure that the immediate area is flowing appropriately to lessen any impacts on surrounding intersections. So for example, there is a raised median that is going to be included as part of the development to restrict traffic movements at the intersection so that it flows appropriately with the rest of the network.
I got you. I saw that. I was just curious because for me, if it's something that's built up, I might avoid that area and I don't know what the impact would be on other right-of-ways.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Laura LaRock. I work with Udell Engineering and Land Surveying. I'm representing the property owner and the developer on this particular project. So as always, Kelly did a great job giving an overview of the application proposal and the considerations that were made in deeming the application either approved in this case. I don't have too much to add to it. As she mentioned, the proposal before you tonight is a zone map amendment and a comprehensive plan map amendment. As part of those, you take a look at to make sure that policies have changed that support redesignating a property in this case, and that if it was to be redesignated, that the city facilities can serve future development that's approved under those new zone designations. So in this case, there's adequate water, sewer, storm can be treated on site. And included in the application was a transportation impact analysis to say that increased traffic generated from commercial uses, this one's specific to the proposed development, could be accommodated on site. So in this case, we support the staff's decision and the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval and all the conditions that go along with that. So I am available for any questions that the council may have.
No questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Come forward so we can hear you. Thank you.
They're talking about putting a gas station in? This commercial gas station? Is
Oh,
that
yeah,
what?
can you state your name first, please?
Oh, Mary Ann Rashke.
Thank you.
I want to know why we're talking about putting a gas station in when you all want to go electric vehicles. That's my question.
I don't.
The question was, why would we put a gas station in when we're trying to make everybody go to electric vehicles? Well, the city's not putting a gas station in. This is a private party that's investing their own capital into a project that they see a benefit for their company. So.
Sounds to build it.
Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Public hearing is hereby closed at 7:17. All further discussions will be limited to the council and staff at this time. Will the city attorney please read the title of the ordinance?
Ordinance Bill number 2023-20, a bill for an ordinance amending the Lebanon Comprehensive Plan Map and Zoning Map designation to establish the mixed-use designation for the 1.11 acre property located, identified as tax lot 1000, ordinance number 3015.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve has passed. We'll move on to regular session. Number 2 item, repealing resolution number 2022-28 and approval of Republic Service rate increases. Presentation will be by our interim city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Everybody heard the presentation given tonight by Mrs. Jackson from Republic Services. Our franchise fee with Republic Services requires a resolution in order to increase their rates. Before you tonight is that said resolution to increase the rates beginning January 1st, 2024. I can answer any questions that you may have.
That was I don't have it in front of me on my screen, but that was a 25 to 43 cent. That was a 25 to 43 cent increase
Yeah, it wasn't.
a month.
Depending on
I
the
don't,
size
I
of
don't
the
have my
tote.
glasses to read that, but, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was the right number, depending on the size of the tote.
Okay, all right.
Okay, is there any other questions of staff? Will the city attorney please read the title of the resolution?
Resolution number 2023-18, a resolution repealing resolution number 2022-28 and approving Republic Services rate increases.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve is passed. Moving on to the next item, Lebanon Chamber of Commerce Tourism Agreement. Again, in turn, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, we heard a presentation tonight from the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce about wanting to change the structure of their current agreement with the city. That was to take in an additional $7,000 and put it towards the visitor center. No increase to the city general fund or increased revenue. Basically a switch. We have attached a new agreement or a modified agreement. Trace, I don't know.
Apparently you didn't ask me to draft that one?
No, it was done, and it was done simply. We can do this different if need be.
It's already been done. It's fine by me.
Okay. So with that, I can answer any questions.
No questions? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to approval.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve is passed. Moving on to item 4, accessory dwelling unit system development fees. Will the director give her staff report?
Good evening again. This item was originally presented to the city council in September regarding reducing system development charges for accessory dwelling units. A number of options were presented to council at that time, and it was the consensus of council that it would be appropriate to reduce accessory dwelling unit fees for system development charges to 40% of the cost of a single-family dwelling. And that is consistent with the maximum allowed square footage authorized for an accessory dwelling unit of 40% of the single-family dwelling unit size on the property. So the recommendation is to adopt the proposed ordinance with a minor edit to it, if I may. The staff report was worded correctly to say that the reduced fees for all SDCs would be up to 40% of the charge of single-family dwellings. The accessory dwelling unit language in the ordinance is unfortunately switched. And so we would recommend it to read accessory dwelling units are given a 60% reduction of the SDC charges to make sure that it is consistent with the proposal. And so sorry for the confusion and the mix-up on those. So it would be requested to have a modified ordinance language to say up to 60% reduction. So that is before you tonight based off of council's direction, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions. All righty. Will the city attorney read the title of the ordinance?
Ordinance Bill number 2023-19, a bill for, am I on? Yeah. A bill for an ordinance amending section 110 of chapter 13.12, systems development charges, exemptions of the Lebanon Municipal Code.
Is there a motion?
I would move to approve with the budget or the numbers modified to a 60% reduction as opposed to 40% of.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made to, say that again.
It will read 60% of the full SDC as opposed to a 60% reduction as opposed to 40% of the thing.
Okay.
That's what she said.
As recommended by staff.
You got
Okay.
it.
Motion's been made with
With the amendment.
With the amendment. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion has passed with amendment. Thank you so much. Moving on to item 5, this is the big one, fluoride discussion. Be given by our Public Works Director, Jason Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Before you tonight, it's just for discussion purposes only from me. We have a memo in front of you. I think I provided an SDS of the chemical that we use for fluoride. A few things that I'll lead into before the discussion starts. The amount that we dose fluoride is 0.7 parts per million, which if you had a 150,000 gallon water column, that's 0.18 gallons of fluoride in that 150,000 gallons. Just to put it, the scope of it in perspective. There's some costs. Those are actual budgeted costs for the chemical demand for fluoride. We dose fluoride. We also have to up our caustic soda dosing to bring the pH back up because fluoride is such a low pH of 4.23. And we can't ship water out the door unless it's a pH of 7.5 to 8. You guys have any questions about any of that?
I was curious, it was mentioned earlier about when the citizens did the tour that the people who are, the workers who are using that or in, I guess, putting the fluoride in the system are having to wear hazmat suits. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, we ask them to wear respirators and HVAC suits.
Does that require additional training or cost
yes.
to the city?
Well, it does. We would have that same equipment to do a multitude of different functions at our wastewater treatment plant as well.
Okay, so it's not a unique training that these people have to do just for the fluoride?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there any way to estimate what the maintenance cost? I know we can see $27,500 or what's the cost to our equipment? Not only at the treatment plant, but through the city. Is there a way to guess that even?
I could get you a replacement cost for the chemical injection system. I don't have that off the top of my head, but
But there is a cost. I mean,
Sure.
it's damaging our equipment. I looked in that room. I could see the difference between that equipment and what was in the other parts of the plant.
Sure, I think I included some pictures
You did.
of that as well. I wouldn't hazard to guess.
More than $10 and less than $1 million?
Yep, right in there.
So I think the gist of this was to bring it before you to get some discussion going with this. From a staff perspective, we're not going to take a stance one way or the other. We're not experts in whether it's good for you or bad for you. We follow EPA standards. Past that, it's up to this body to decide whether they want to do something different with what we're doing. We did this back in 2016 when we did just before our new water treatment plant was built. And the council acted and said, we want it in the new system, in the new water treatment plant. So that's why you have it today. You see the pictures. Is there a benefit? I don't know. Is there not a benefit? I don't know. We're not going to get into that as staff. That's not our expertise. We're going to follow what EPA recommends for dosing. And past that, it's up to this body to decide where they want to go with that from there.
Well, as the guy who kind of started rolling this down the hill, the bigger issue to me is this, and everybody got Paul's letter, I'm sure, on email. There was at some point represented to me when I started looking into this, that the people voted for this. And I don't see any record that ever happened. I'll say, I'll make my stand, but I'm one person. I don't want fluoride in my water, but I'm one vote. I don't think us six should decide that. I think the people should decide that. The issue to me is putting this on a ballot, not me making a moral judgment or reading somebody's story about why fluoride's good or bad for you, because I'm not that smart either. But I think that's a people discussion. If they want that in their water, that's their choice, just like it should be for everything else. That's my stand on it.
I agree. The people should be able to vote on it, whether or not it's actually in their water system. Because if they vote that they don't want it, then we should be able to take it out. Not something that this body decides that we're just going to put in the water for them.
Sure.
I had a question on, it was brought up earlier, where the services terminate. Is there a recirculation of water in the total system? That makes sense.
We have a closed loop system, so it goes into a service line, goes to the tap.
Okay.
Everything that we have is, we try to loop together as far as distribution mains are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But past the meter, we have no control over that.
Okay. I'm in agreement. This is one of those issues that I can see both sides, and there's a ton of information out there on, that would support both sides of the argument. I think it's something that we should refer to the voters and let them decide. You know, I'm kind of a business mindset, so I look at it, it's almost $28,000 plus additional cost of maintenance, and there's other variable costs that you could throw in there, I would imagine, that would be savings to the city. So I kind of look at it from a dollar perspective. Now, I understand both sides. I truly do understand the people that are concerned with health risk, and I also understand the people that believe that it's a benefit to the community. What's the labor aspect of it when adding this? Is it just the computer that injects it?
It's a chemical feed pump system.
Okay.
So our fluoride is in its own room, completely self-contained room that has to have the air changed. I can't remember exactly the timing on that. I think it was 6 times, maybe an hour, and I'll probably be wrong, so don't quote that. But yeah, we hook it up to our raw chemical and dose it through all our feed pumps, just like we would chlorine or citric.
Now I know that I'll just state the obvious. I don't know if the public's been able to see the photos, but with the photos and then what you just said, it's in a closed room. That's not very supportive of the argument of keeping it. However, like I said, I'm more of I look at it from a dollar standpoint, but I do understand both sides. Is there any other comments or questions to staff?
I would really hesitate we not look at this at a dollars and cents kind of angle, just because we're looking at it on here as, what is the cost on here? 18 or 12.8 and then 14.7 is the total cost for this. This body costs more than that annually for the stipends that are paid to us to sit here and make these decisions. So I am really uncomfortable making that as the reasoning for us to cut fluoride from the water or refer it to the voters, quite frankly. We have a voter initiative process. It's one of the things our citizens are very familiar with in Oregon. Measure 114, here's an example. Measure 110, also an example. Obviously, those are state examples, and I know many of you share the same thinking that I have on those, but we do have a process in place for voter initiative ballot measures.
Is this not part of the process?
Excuse me?
Isn't this part of the process? Can't we, I mean, I talked to Paul about this before I ever even got into it, and as I understand it, this body, part of the process is we can put it in front of the voters.
Correct, we can, but we are also voted on by the people to make hard decisions, and I do feel that this is one of them that we can make. I mean, we've made it in the past, twice now, in fact. If that's not something that a newer council is comfortable doing, I'm okay with that, but it is important to also know that there is, and there was at least an active petition for this. I searched my email and I found a reply from our former city recorder that, there was an active petition out. So clearly, we're aware of the process here. I'd also hesitate for us to tackle something like this based on how many people that have come forward here tonight and how many people have emailed us. I look back at the things that we have not sent to voters, and I'm going to tell you that the dozen people that I've heard from, it pales in comparison to the amount of people I heard from talking about proclamations or whatever it may be, certainly with the homeless issue, and we didn't send that to voters either. So,
well, I might be wrong, but I don't think there was a voting cycle in that. I mean, we didn't have time to go to a regular voting cycle on the homeless thing. I'm really not advocating for one side or the other, but I don't understand the logic right now. If the people don't want it, and we're sure of that, and your vote is right, why not let them decide? That's all.
I just feel that there is a process in place for them to follow. If
This is
I
part of
feel
that process.
strongly.
Let's let each other finish our statements. Go ahead.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I don't want this to be a policy decision made on financials. If we want to send it to the voters, that's certainly going to cost money too. And again, I just really think this is a decision we can make as a body. And quite frankly, I realize I'm going to be outvoted on that decision. So I mean, that's what we're here to do. Do we need to send it to the voters to have that fight and divide our community, or can we just do it tonight and divide me for, a meeting?
I'm not here to try to push for us to vote not to have fluoride right now.
Okay.
Although I know some people would like that. I don't think that's any more fair.
I'm fine with that, though, is what I'm saying. I think we should just do that. We should make the hard decisions.
I don't know that I feel, I'm neutral on this, by the way. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't feel like I have enough information to make an informed decision on this. When this first came up, maybe 6 months ago, one, I was under the impression that voters had decided this, and found out later that they hadn't. It had been a city council decision. And the other was, I looked, I got online and tried to research this, and I found, like it's been said a few times now, there's information on both sides, and it's not an easy one for me to make. Like I said, I'm pretty neutral on it, but I'm not opposed to letting each member that's a voter out there do their own research and make their own decision on what they're actually, I guess, ingesting and what they're exposing their family to.
I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to cut the voter out of the process. I feel that the voter has already been involved in the process by electing the people on this body.
Well, were you done?
I am, thank
Okay.
you.
I don't think it's about cutting the voters out. I don't think anybody's implying that that's what you want. I think Jeremy hit it on the head right there is I think a lot of people are just neutral on this. It's one of those subjects that one of those issues that I know that I share similar view of it as you do. I'm neutral on it. And if I am neutral on it and I become that deciding vote on if it's up or down, that is hard for me because it goes back to what I just said earlier. To me, I would look at it, my decision as, okay, let's look at the dollar signs because that's how neutral I am on it. I see both sides of the argument. I don't know if I have the time to go through, I'll be totally honest, 1,500 pages. She brought in 2 big binders to back her position on this issue. That I think is the sticking point. I think there's tons of people on this council that share a similar view. If not, let me know, or we should know.
I don't want to point this, and I don't want to sound this insulting. I do feel that a little bit we're cutting the voter out. I came to this wanting to get people involved. I have a feeling about it. I just don't believe that my feeling about that, no matter how much I research it, is more important than the people who have to drink the water. That's and I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm just saying that our votes in this kind of issue, if we can put it in front of the people, we can't go to them and say, hey, you voted us, and I don't say this, we don't think you are educated enough to make this decision, so we're going to make it for you. That's not how government should work, and I don't agree with that.
Can
Not
I ask a
comfortable.
question?
I just want to be clear that I'm not saying that I don't think our voters are educated enough to make that decision. That is not what I'm here trying to do tonight. What I'm saying is, where is the line? When do we stop kicking? We had full rooms for many other things, much larger issues that actually cost our city a lot of money, and we did not kick those issues to the voters. So this one, that is less than our salaries, our stipends for this council.
You can't use finance on one side, not the other. That doesn't balance.
Sure, I'm just going to keep bringing that up because if we if that's the argument, I definitely want to have that conversation at a later date because we are one of the only councils in this area that actually gives ourselves a stipend. So
As you guys
I
are
regress.
As you guys are having that conversation, you're asking where the line is, and I'm bouncing this back and forth. I think because this directly affects people's health, I think that's for me, that's where the line would be like, yeah, I want the people to be able to decide for themselves instead of us as a body making that decision. We make a lot of decisions that they cost a lot more money and they have maybe a lot more impact, but on one that directly affects people's, like what they're bathing in and drinking in, I'm going to let them do their own research and make an informed decision rather than, I don't feel right about us making that decision. Now, the decision's been made by a previous city council, but twice, but I guess it's on the table tonight for us to let the voters of Lebanon decide this. I won't say once and for all, because what they decide now may not be what in 10 years the people of Lebanon want, and they can come back to that. But if you're asking where the
They can
line
use
is,
the voter-initiated process.
well, if you're asking where the line is, I think it's this directly impacts people's health.
I think the comment tonight was that that initiative did not work. They couldn't get enough signatures. So they basically have stopped trying to gather signatures. I'm with Dave. I think we got to refer it to the voters. And that is not cutting us out of the decision because we were elected. I just think they ought to have a voice, and a voice that says, hey, I don't like this. Don't do it. That's my opinion.
Any other comments, questions?
And if I could make just
Yes,
one
of course.
point, this is the political science major in me is just trying to just make sure that you consider one thing as you make this determination. In political science, they go through a lot of the referendum process and the initiative process. And they talk about those things that are the most complicated, scientific, that need scientific research, that are, medical decisions, medical issues. You referred to the 1,500 pages or whatever, and you're not going to have the time to go through this. How many of the voters are going to go through that? And I say that not because I decide I don't care if there's fluoride in the water. I live outside of Lebanon, so I really don't care. But one of the considerations I think you should take into consideration in a initiative or referendum policy like this, is it going to be the science and the research that matters, or the amount of money that each side spends on it to convince people either to or to not? So that's just a consideration that just jumped out at me from some of the things I've worked on in the past. Is it really going to come down to who finances the better campaign, or is it going to come down to individuals doing their own research? So.
And I come back again to the divisive piece. We can I do feel like we can make this decision as a body tonight, and I know how the vote's going to go. And we will save the community thousands of dollars on spending this and more divisiveness. But if we want to take it to the voters, my one ask would be that it be in October or November of 2024 and not in May. If that requires a consensus for pausing fluoride in the water between now and then, I'm fine with that. But I just feel like a May election generally only garners like 15 to 20%. And that's not going to be a sufficient snapshot for me to feel comfortable with the amount of people that have actually voiced their opinion on it. I don't know how you feel
I agree
about
with
that.
I pictured it as being something we put in November.
Okay.
In the normal election, and that would minimize the cost, not a special election, nothing. It's just another thing to add to the ballot.
Okay.
That's how I envision it, at least.
Yeah, this is, like I said, and I'll say it again, this is that one issue for me personally that is I'm so neutral, it's not even funny. Like I said, I can see both sides. I totally see Councilor Workman's passion and his what he would like to see, and same with you. So, I mean,
It feels a little opening to me because I know my personal opinion on this, but I don't want it to be my personal choice. That's why I can say, oh, great, let's vote, and then I'd get my way, but I don't think that's what I'm up here to do, is get my way.
Well, that's how majority works, so.
Is there anybody who would want to make a motion?
No, this
It's
is
on
for
here for discussion.
Yeah.
Can I discuss now, or do you want to talk over me some more? I just want to find
Go
out.
ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead and laugh, Dave. This has been passed by the city council twice. The initiative process failed because not enough people would sign the petition. So you circle around and you come to the city council to bypass that. I don't care one way or the other about fluoride. I can remember my teeth getting red in school when they gave us fluoride treatments, and I'm sure those were dental professionals doing that. I do believe that this body has the right and the responsibility to make these decisions. We were placed here to lead, and leaders make tough decisions. They're not always popular. Personally, that's what I think they call that in your political science. I call that representative republic, which is what we live in. If you can't make the decisions, don't sit in the chair. It's that simple. Leaders lead. If the body decides to refer this to the voters, fine. I think that it sets a different precedent. It gives us a slippery slope, because where do you draw the line on what goes? I understand the medical. I don't know that this is so much of the medical side, but we make decisions on people's personal safety, their ability to make a living, their ability to live in this city every time we meet. Where do you draw the line on not referring that over? I think you're opening a slippery slope. If that's your decision, that's great. I just don't agree. We were put here to make the hard choices. I can tell you from personal experience, as could several other people on this council, that sometimes those hard decisions are a lot harder than you think. But that's what we do. That's all I got.
Well, I would just like to say this then. I mean, I don't think we've ever shied away from making hard decisions on this council.
We're doing that now.
We've made tons of them. I think what the issue may be is that there's some on the council might not consider this that hard a decision, or maybe it doesn't rise to that level, and that's why they're deferring it, maybe deferring it to the voters. But up to this point, I've been in office for a year. We've never deferred anything to the voters.
Yeah, but
Made the
when
decisions
we
right
start
here.
doing this now, where do we stop?
I don't picture it as a floodgate myself. This is an issue that's been brought before us. It seems like an efficient way to handle it. I get it, we're supposed to be leaders. I ran as a representative. I want to hear those people. I can be a leader. I can make decisions. I can make the decision right now if you want me to. But I don't think that's fair to the people who gave their time to come here and they've heard, or to the other people who may want fluoride that I haven't heard from.
I have a lot.
Well, if the referendum didn't make it to the ballot because enough signatures weren't there, all we're out is the cost of putting it on the ballot. We represented the people, and it'll get voted down. And I do have the faith, if the people are excited about it or feel strong enough about it, they have the same time, they can do the same research we can. I'm not scientifically smarter than the people that live here. I'm just a guy trying to represent them.
But the people who are most passionate about it couldn't find the time to get the signatures either. So what says that the average voter is going to have the time to go through 1,500 pages?
I'm going to say I can draw no connection to, if there was, I don't know if there's one guy out there walking door to door with a petition. I don't know how that happened. That shouldn't have any basis. That should have no bearing on what we're trying to decide right now, in my opinion. We can put it in front of the voters.
Well, the neat thing is we're not trying to decide anything. We're just talking about it.
Yeah.
So I had my say.
Well, I guess I could make a decision on it, but I would need expert testimony in here, and that might take another year worth of meetings to get the information that I need. And because I wasn't here previous when you guys when the previous councils were making that decision.
I wasn't on council.
None of us were.
I have to think that they made that based on something and not just their feelings. So if we want to make that decision or not make the decision, we need way more information. And
agreed.
From 2016, I listened to the 2016, I believe it's 2016, YouTube video today. It's just the audio that's up there. And my understanding from that audio is two people were what led to that conversation. Two. The council received two comments. So, and at that point, it was the discussion of, do we want to put this on the ballot? Do we want to put it in our wastewater or in our water treatment plant? Because it was easier to build it than try and add it on afterwards. And the council made the decision to go ahead and do that at that time. Ron, am I misrepresenting that? You
No,
were
you're-
also
you're-
in that, in that audio.
You're representing that right. I think, just so everybody's aware, if you're looking for expert testimony, don't look at us.
No, I'm
We're-
talking
we're-
about.
We're gonna go to the internet, and we're
scientists
gonna
and-
go, oh, we got this
Yeah.
and we got this. I mean, all we can give you is the facts of what we use it for today.
Right.
You would have to hire but I could hire a consultant for, and I could
Yeah,
hire a consultant
you'd be
against.
hiring the
So-
internet, basically.
So
You'd
your
be hiring
guys'
people who-
decision,
from both
whatever your
sides.
decision is, whichever way you go, if you made this decision as a body, I mean, the information you have now is unless we can dig something else up, I mean, that's what you have. I mean, I can't give you anything else other than the facts of what we use it for. I don't think Jason could either.
Just operationally is the only
Yeah.
part of the discussion I can offer anything.
Well, we're having the discussion, right? What's the next step? What, is there a legal, is there a procedural way right now to say, hey, we want to put it to the vote at a future time, or what's the next step in this?
It's going to be no different than, you're going to make me say it again, the psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin, I mean, we're referring something through the council for a vote. It's the same process. So can't remember what we did first. I think we brought it with a memo to council with a recommendation. We vote on it. I think then I draft, I don't know if I'm drafting I've got to work with Kelly to draft the appropriate language. And if we're not doing it until, the next November election, we got plenty of time. If that's what I heard is the likely result, we should just bring it back. We'll have all the timing, all the dates, all the documents set up to try to get the conversation started. And it doesn't take long to get it on there. So we'll have plenty of time to get it on by the next November. Now there was, and I forget who said this, if there was a vote to stop using it in the interim or something, I can't remember if that was an actual consideration. That would take just a motion, I think, and a vote on that.
But not tonight.
Well, no, not tonight because it says discussion only, but.
Yeah.
Thanks, Trey.
Is there a consensus of what council wants staff to bring something back, or?
Well, I think visual vote, I think there is, but I don't know if that locks us into what we do going forward.
No, you can certainly make a motion to request the city to bring back the next step in the process of referring this to the voters.
I'd like to make that motion.
I didn't articulate it very well, so.
I just want to make sure I didn't say something
No,
wrong.
you can, go ahead and just say, just make a motion that requesting that staff bring back a memorandum regarding the proceeding with and I always get this wrong, it's a referendum when the city does it, or what's the difference in language between citizen initiated and
A ballot measure when we do it.
yeah, it's something. Anyways, bring it back with basically a council-initiated ballot measure, and that will start the process.
Okay.
In the spirit of working together, I would second your motion.
Thank you, Michelle.
Even if I disagree, because I do think we
agree.
need
That's
consensus as a
nice.
group moving forward. It's helpful to have, Councilor Olfos wants to talk about leadership. It's important that, we exemplify that here. So once you make that motion, I would be happy to
I
second
will
it.
make that motion, probably not in the words that Trey tried to pick up there. I would make the
I had
motion
surgery today, so that's why I'm mumbling a little
to
bit.
bring
just so
back
you
the
know.
memorandum that would allow us to put this to a vote of the people. Is that close enough?
Everybody understands it, it's close enough.
I would like to amend it to include October 2020, or November 2025. That's all, or 4, sorry. And then I would provide my second.
So motions, and you seconded it?
Yes.
So motion's been made, let me see if I have this. Motion's been made for a memorandum to refer it to voters with amendments of holding it off until 2025?
4, sorry, November
2024.
2024.
November 2024.
You don't need to call it an amendment because a motion hadn't already been made.
Okay.
So basically, that's included in the
Just
the
gonna
motion
sneak
as long
that
as he
in
did.
his, if that's
agree with
okay.
it. So
Okay.
it's just the
Okay.
motion and the second
Okay.
with that understanding.
So the motion's been made for memorandum to refer to voters. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain?
I voted already.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
I said aye.
No, okay. So motion is passed for a memorandum to refer to voters.
We'll work on something to bring back for you to look at here in the near future.
Okay. Next up is city manager's report.
City Council, as always, I'm happy to go through any details of the manager's report with you or questions that you have. A couple of things that I kind of want to point out. Lebanon is one of the 10 top cities per capita for building permit issuances and getting stuff out on time. So kudos to our building department and all the work that they're doing. Wanted to bring that up. Another thing that came up, Lebanon Downtown Association has brought in their 501c3 status, all their budget stuff. I believe we're working through one more document.
They got the CT12 in.
Yes, all of their stuff is in. So unless anybody objects, we intend to probably release the funds to them on the quarterly basis. We'd make up for the first and second quarters. Well, we'd make the first quarter and then the second quarter we owed in October. Unless there's any issues with that with council, that's my intent to go forward with that.
I have some concerns.
Okay.
Do I need to voice them now? I wasn't prepared to. Can you show us all of that documentation? Like, I just want to
Yes.
know.
We have it in hand.
Okay.
We do have it in hand.
And from both the IRS
Yes.
and the
Here is the
Secretary of State's
the
office? Is that correct?
DOJ
Okay.
right there, and we also got one from Oregon DOJ, and
Yeah.
then
Oregon DOJ shows them status clear now. The IRS does not yet, but they're 6 months behind on updating their website, but they did get the letter reinstating their 501c3.
With all of the changes on that board, I would appreciate if they would come and present to us and actually make that request, because it's a completely different group now, and I would feel more comfortable releasing that funding, having some sort of update on what they want to do moving forward, similar to the previous director. It would make me feel a little bit better about it.
For next month.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
so with that, we won't release anything till the December until you guys have had a chance to talk to them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
All right. The only other thing I've got is probably the burning question on everybody's mind, and that's the water
brown
quality
water?
issue. And I think Jason's got some
He-
examples of
he
what
ran
to
away
show.
again.
No, he's back there in the back.
Can we
He's
get like a
hiding.
briefing on, I know, because Jason's
Yes.
still here. Would you mind explaining to us what exactly is going on?
He's planning
He's,
on.
Quarter
he's done this,
engineers.
I called him today, so
Yes.
I'm going to hear it a second time, but I think it's important.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you. So we are, excuse me, I gotta grab my papers.
I'd also like to say thank you, because I know that I just sprung that on you, but it looks like you have water with you anyway, so.
Yeah, no problem. So our raw water source on the South San Am River is typically one of the cleanest sources for NTU, which is nephelometric turbidity units, is what it stands for. Basically, it's the measurement of the clarity of the water. Typically, this time last year, our raw water had an NTU of 31 coming right out of the river. And it was after our biggest storm event, December 1st of last year, actually. Today, we were at 281 NTU coming into our plant, which is bad. So this is from the tap in our lab. I have a line that comes right from the raw water line, comes into our sink, and that's what's coming into our plant. right through the door. So we're battling color issues. You guys might have heard about some of that. I will state that we're making absolutely safe drinking water. We're not even close to any violations for our OHA issued permit. Everything there is fine. The issue stems from the Corps of Engineers dumping Green Peter Reservoir. Like the dam doesn't exist. If anybody has driven up there, if you haven't, I sure suggest that you do. You're gonna see a lot of things that you've never seen before. So basically, we're taking the bottom of Green Peter Reservoir and all the silt that's drained off from every tributary and creek that comes into that lake, and we're bringing that right down the South Santiam River. And that's what is going into our water treatment plant. So in order for us to deal with this, we're increasing how we operate the plant. We're running it 24 hours a day. We have to, because we have to run it super slow. The results of running our plant this way is extremely hard on our membranes. Our replacement cycle is going to be shortened because of the way we're operating our plant right now, which is the only choice that we have, right? How much or what that looks like, we'll have to get through this event to find out. I've reached out to the Corps on several different occasions to talk to them about this issue, and I haven't got a lot of warm, fuzzy conversation back. So we'll continue to make great water. We're still going to have some cloudiness issues. I encourage the members of the community to flush their lines a little bit. But if anybody needs any testing results, they just have to give us a call.
We should also state that if we didn't have the new water treatment plant, we would probably be on a boil water notice right now.
Wow.
Because the old plant, there's no way it would have handled this. So there's going to be some discussions that are going to have to come up, I think, through probably state legislators and whatnot. But this is not a sustainable, this event's going to last for a long time. They haven't even dropped Foster Reservoir yet. And so we're going to run into this issue of membrane replacement. That's not cheap. We've cycled that out for a 10-year cycle on our membranes. Ask me what this is going to do to it. I don't know that we have an answer to that. I don't know. It's probably going to show up one of these days is when we'll know the answer to that question. Right now, like Jason said, everything's running. We're running it through. We're getting good water out the back end. I know there's a little bit of cloudiness, but it's still very safe to drink. It's just the coloration. So
I think that I should have stated a little bit, the reason this is so hard on our membranes, there's a permeability test that we do, and that's what decides how often we do like a recovery clean on the rack. You guys have been out there, you see what those filter racks look like. We used to do each rack once a month. We're doing that every other week now for that big, long, sustained recovery clean. Our other cleans, we've had to increase the frequency of all those backwashes as well. Our chemical cost as a result of all this, and the result of the additional cleans has really gone up. We're tracking all this. We're tracking all the extra man hours that go with it. So we have a snapshot of what this truly did to our community. But it's been rough. You know, we normally have an event like last year, our highest turbidity was at December 1st. It lasted for 48 hours. So we had an NTU of 12 sustained for 48 hours. That's as high as it got. And then it dropped off. We've been over 50 this entire last month, and we've been over 100 for the last 3 days.
Do you think this is affecting even going down the Willamette, people that are using the water supply of the Willamette for drinking water? I mean, is it
I
that
think
bad?
we've been, I don't know. I can't speak to that.
I can't tell you. So we were in contact with the Albany plant yesterday, and when we reached a 200 NTU. The Albany plant reported that they had 100 NTU. So I think you get a lot of it settled out. The problem is we're right here. And
Yeah, I was going to ask Sweet Home.
Sweet Home draws off the bottom of the reservoir, so they don't have as much of an issue as we do.
The next phase of this dam construction, literally, is gonna be even more challenging for us, because right now we have a buffer of Foster Lake. They're still holding water back in Foster. When Foster is emptied, we're gonna have all the sediment from Green Peter lands in with Foster. And that's all coming down to us. And then there'll be no flash buffer.
Can we do anything like short of Jason calling and talking to yeah, can we send someone a letter, like the Army Corps of Engineers as a body, to alert them what this is doing to our community? And, or I'm just asking if there's any sort of like
Nothing that's gonna
attention we
have
can
any
draw to this.
impact.
No?
I will say this, that Ron and I were contacted by our representative
good.
concerning this. So it's, I think, I'm not going to make, say exactly what they're doing. I have no idea, but if they're reaching out, I know it's on their list of things they need to pay attention to. So,
If they're reaching out, they know they got a problem.
yes, exactly. At the state level.
Yeah.
And we will be keeping, Jason and the city will be keeping good track of all the additional costs that are incurred by the city as a result of this.
Yeah, I really want to send Corps of Engineers a bill.
Still
All
waiting
the
for them
good
to pay the
it'll do.
last.
So, if I may,
yeah,
oh, sorry, go
Well, I
ahead.
was going to say, I think the Army Corps of Engineers is, they're doing this to comply with a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're at the will of the judge, is my understanding.
You are correct.
The good news is, this is our finished water taken out of the same sink that we took this from. So it is cloudier than
Can you
normal.
hold that up and show the people
You should have led with
behind
that.
you?
No.
Sure.
This
Yeah, I
is,
can
this is
send
the
it
water
around.
after it's treated.
It is cloudier than normal. Our finish NTU coming out of our strainer or coming out of our plant. This time right now, we're at 0.14. So you can see how much we're taking out. Last year at this time, or in our largest event, December 1st last year, our finished water was 0.016. So even though it looks like that, it is still a lot cloudier than what we normally would put out the door.
Okay, I want to return to something you had said, which is, I want to make sure I have this right. So when they do foster, it's going to get worse for us. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that's my assumption.
Okay.
Right now, we have the reservoir holding back water,
Right.
and there's opportunity for sediment to settle out. When Foster's open, I don't believe that we're going to have that.
So
I'm not one of their environmental engineers either, so.
I think just it would be nice if we could somehow get ahead of some of the like social media chatter by perhaps releasing like weekly water updates to show, essentially what you're doing right now, the before and after, and like the testing information. I think that's a lot of people like that information. I mean, I like that information. I certainly like seeing the before and after. Makes me feel a little better. Is that something we can do? And who would take that on? Is that a request? Do I have consensus? I know I'm.
No, I think it's a good idea, get in front of it, because when they do foster, it may not look worse, but it's going to extend for a long time, the issue that we're going to be fighting. And I think we need to let the citizens know ahead of time that this is where we're at and this is what's coming down the road and this is what we're trying to do about it.
I think when people know about it in advance, it's less scary,
Yeah.
right?
I had somebody ask me today, and you had to kind of waylay their fears. So you're right, that it's best to hit that before everybody gets
Yep,
together and decides it's a
exactly.
big deal.
So what would you like to see in terms of that? I'm reluctant to put out testing because most people aren't going to understand it. We can do an update on, nobody's going to understand NTU. I mean,
No, they're not.
I mean, how would you like to see that put out?
We can get like before and after pictures, at least
Like
posted on,
that
the city
right there.
page and stuff. Yeah, just what he has there.
You want us to do that on a weekly? I mean, what,
I th-
I'm open to whatever you
I
guys
would think
want.
a weekly, because this is going to be something we're going to be dealing with for a while.
And I do think people are going to get familiar with the levels and the numbers if this is going to go on for months and months and months. There's probably an acceptable range, right? Just like if I get a blood test, it's like, here's where you should be, and you're over here, Michelle. So, you know, when
Which
you see that.
our finished water, I believe our limits are what, 2 NTU for coming across the filters. That's what we would have to hit in order to meet that. So you can see that we're, what, 0.14 right now? So we're well under that
Right.
threshold of 2.
People need to know that that's where we're at. I think that we are well below the max limit. So there's no danger, no issues.
I was just going to add that maybe instead of just text or a message, written message, maybe a video showing that sample and then pulling it out, that sample, and going, you know, we are conducting, you know, making sure that the water's clean, you know, because people are, you know how it's going to be. You just put out a statement, they're going to go, well, where are they getting the water? Are they getting it from Corvallis?
Yeah, and
You know, so a
maybe
video
get-
of the video of actually obtaining the water out of our system might be the way to go. It's simple. Everybody watches those type of videos and whatnot. So
And maybe
I look
talk
forward
to
to
the
your
local
TikToks.
press about running an article about it,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah, TikTok star.
I just got to caution you, I don't think the city of Lebanon council wants me to be your social media presence.
It'll be a media star.
Yeah. We have all the information. We can get it out in a format that is acceptable to you guys, so.
I think it'd help just to have something to refer people to if they ask. Even, I don't know how technical it
that,
has to
yeah.
be. Just,
Yeah.
hey, we are aware of it. Go here to see what the story is.
So what if we did this in a press release that basically gave the limits of, defined what it is, what an NTU is, gave the limits, you know, like an MCL, maximum contaminant level, similar to that, and just said, this is where we're at with our finished water coming to you. And, I mean, we can always talk about what our raw water is, but, and just did that in a press release. When you say video, who's gonna video? Do you want to come down and be the,
What channel is that going to be broadcast
Yeah.
on?
I said TikTok. I mean, come on, get your dance on, Mayor.
I think we could do a video collecting both jars
Okay.
in our lab.
I mean, it wouldn't be so simple.
Okay.
It's just a
It really
phone.
is a cell phone
Yeah,
video.
it's a cell phone. It doesn't have to be high quality. It doesn't have to have
We'll turn that over
subtitles
to
or
Julie.
anything.
Yeah, anybody that goes anywhere near the river knows it looks like a chocolate bar.
I just think it
floating.
would be
Yeah.
the easiest
Oh,
way.
and that, I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that we get what you guys want put out
Yeah.
there. Okay. Okay.
Do you have anything
you.
else?
No, I don't, no, unless other questions.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I just want to say thank you again. Look forward to your TikTok dance.
What's your
TikTok
channel?
influencer.
Anybody want a drink before I leave?
If there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on to items from council. Is there any items from council that they would like to,
Just real quickly
about.
on the, in terms of just meetings and public agencies, I don't know if you guys saw this, but DEQ is coming to town on November 30th with OHA to host an in-tech public information meeting at the library. Similar to talking about fluoride, this is a very technical document. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. And, oh, did you just beat me? My 5 minutes are up.
my apologies.
I'm trying to find the time. It's loading. The time at the library is from 5 to 7 o'clock on November 30th. So,
And that,
I just wanted to say, since Jason's still here, I'm really pleased with the work they did out at Second and Mary. They really responded quickly, got the stop sign up and the warning. So we haven't had anybody trying to run the red light or run the stop sign and run anybody over. And it seems to have slowed folks down. So thank you for getting that done, Jason. Good job.
Any other items from council? Why, I have an item. I would like to publicly thank our city attorney for his hard work on the Porter Street property. his thinking outside the box to get that done. I know it's not part of our city limits, but that portion of our community is always attributed to us. So it is an image of image of Lebanon. So thank you for your work on that. Is there any other comments or? If not, we're going to go. I have two people want to speak. Marissa Peterson. I'll give you 5 minutes, just like during public comments. What ward are you from? Do you know?
I'm not from a board. I'm just someone
Ward?
here.
Which
A
ward in the
ward,
city?
Ward.
I do not know the number.
Okay.
This being my first ever attending of city council, I'm definitely a new person here. So I apologize for having my public comment not in at the appropriate time. So thank you for allowing me to come and sit here. I just come as a concerned citizen. I'm a mom. My name is Melissa, and I graduated with my degree in community health education. And so I'm really thankful for the discussion that has taken place here in regards to our water and getting to see this. And I know it's been a very hot topic for the community lately. So I'm just here to put my hat in further comments and talking about the fluoride, even though I know that was addressed earlier. So again, thank you for allowing me to come and speak about this now. As a result of being a community health major, I just have invested interest in my community wellness. And so in learning about the option of fluoride being taken out of the water, it did definitely prompt me to want to pursue more information and learn more about the topic. So I've been listening to a lot of really interesting podcasts from functional dentists talking about the impacts of fluoride on our health. So I just wanted to read off what I wrote in summary of the information that I've learned and let that be my piece here. Okay, so many European countries do not have fluoride in their water. England, which has similar eating habits and a similar rate of obesity to the US, does not have fluoride in their water. Despite the change in water quality, both the US and England have similar rates of tooth decay. So that led me to believe if the main purpose of fluoride is to prevent tooth decay, then presumably the US should have a lowered rate of tooth decay. However, this is not the case. England and the US have a similar rate of tooth decay despite that water change. Obviously, tooth decay is related to deeper issues such as food quality, consumption of overprocessed foods, seed oil, sugars, things that anyone who is invested in health has learned, especially lately, those impacts. So fluoride is basically an attempt at a blanket solution to the deeper issue of tooth decay. However, it is clearly not a solution and therefore should not be carelessly added to our water. I definitely feel that fluoride is one of those, we've always done it this way. It's a sort of an archaic thing that has been thrown into the water at some point, and now research shows that it actually has a lot more health risks than it does benefits, and I just wanted to point that out. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Elisa Trigla. And Ward 1.
I'm so short, I gotta get. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Elisa Trillia, and I'm in Ward 1. And I wasn't really prepared tonight, but I decided that I would like to speak. And it is about the fluoridation. I want to thank Jason for bringing these samples because my husband and I have noticed 2 weeks our water smelled more chlorine. And we don't actually drink our tap water because I'm a very health conscious person. I'm 63 years old and I do not take any kind of medications of any kind. I don't even take aspirin. So the fluoridation in the water is a very big concern of mine because I've been on a health journey probably 10 years in my marriage. And I have learned that many doctors prescribe things that aren't good for our health. And I won't go down that route tonight because it's not necessary. But with the water quality, that was my main concern, is because I did notice a different coloration in the water. Our sink, our bath water, and our toilet water has like a green tinge. So coming tonight, I understand why. So I think it's a good idea that we do have notify the city of the citizens, because I didn't know what was happening and it freaked me out. So I really appreciate this conversation. But my main concern is the fluoridation. So Michelle, you mentioned that there's a process. So since I'm learning about civic and our government, because I really didn't learn much. So I am learning. And so can you explain just briefly what is the process to get things on the ballot and the cost of what it's going to
Well,
cost?
I'll go ahead.
Let's
She
do
was-
this. Finish your comments and then she can take
Okay,
her 2
because-
minutes to.
And I do want to stress the negative comments about our citizen members who try to get signatures. These people that tried to do this were young mothers. We didn't have enough time, and it would be helpful to know the exact route to go, because as I've watched the videos that you're talking about, there really hasn't been a vote for the fluoridation on our ballots. Is that true? When did Lebanon ever vote for fluoridation? Was it always the city council? And my little bit of my research I've done, we didn't start putting fluoride until 2001. Is that correct?
2000, I
I
believe,
believe
based
it
on
was
the staff
2000,
report.
yeah.
Okay. And with me working with autistic children, I am not an educated person, but I worked with autism. And I think our children in our community and our whole nation has too many toxins. With drug use, they drug the autistic, they drug depressed people, they drug people with mental illness. So we need, as a society, to start eliminating some of the toxins. And we all need water. So that would be the first place, with my logic anyway, to start reducing toxins in our bodies. And so it is a big concern. And I think you would find that there are more educated people in our Lebanon community that are very health conscious. I've been on a health conscious journey myself for over 35 years. So everybody deals with their health differently, but educated doctors don't really have all the answers. They medicate you with prescriptions. So that's how I feel about that. And I appreciate
I
yes.
gave you 5 minutes. You have 30 seconds left. So
30
kinda
seconds.
wrap it up and then she'll be
So
able to comment back for 2 minutes.
the
Okay?
consensus, are we're putting this on the ballot, or are you guys deciding for us? That's what I want to know, what's happening in the realm of us. Is our citizens going to be able to vote for this, or are you going to make up our minds for us?
It's going to be brought back to us.
Exactly.
Okay.
So a little bit about the process for a voter-initiated measure to put something on the ballot. My understanding is you have to have 15%. I checked with our city clerk today, and she said you have to have 15% of the registered voters of the city, so the city of Lebanon. I don't have those exact numbers based on, I'm using the mayor's election as my example. There were 13,416 registered voters for the mayoral election, which I'm assuming would encompass all Lebanon, City of Lebanon voters. So whatever 15% of that, I am a communications person, not a math person. So whatever 15% of that would be, and if I'm correct with the clerk, I believe there's a 2-year, isn't it like 2 years? A 2-year limit, so you have up to 2 years, and I believe that petition is still open. It's only in its first year, I think, based on the emails that I saw from the previous city clerk. So hopefully that helps. And I think we had probably about 1,000 signatures just for the homelessness issue that we addressed as a council just earlier this year. But thank you for your comments and thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Does the press have anything?
I'll be recording this. No, inside joke.
Is the mic on?
Oh, I have to, okay. Sarah Brown, Lebanon Local News. I wanted to clarify and understand, so the process, the fluoridization process that you're going through is not, you're not starting the process to get it on the ballot, but you're starting the process first with having a discussion to get it on the ballot? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, we discussed it, and at least the way I understand it, we're
Yeah,
going to bring back the decision for us to send it to the voter.
It was put on the it was put on the agenda today as a discussion-only item.
Right.
So it was very clear that the votes are going to be there to start that process, but we couldn't do it tonight. So we're going to bring back the process and everything at the next meeting and have it as an action item so that we can act on it at the next meeting.
So you're gonna begin the process of putting it on a ballot,
Right,
basically.
that's fair
assuming
enough.
it goes through. Okay,
If the votes are there.
makes sense.
It'll be like psilocybin where we have to look at the ballot measure, or we have to look at the title and everything, correct, Trey? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So like 2 meetings
you.
probably worth.
There's no other press here? Okay. Next scheduled council meeting will be December 13th, 2023, regular session, 6 PM, and executive session. Right, I'm going to adjourn the regular session. We'll move into executive session. So in between the two, when I adjourn, we'll take a 15-minute break and then reconvene for executive session. Understood? Okay. So I adjourn.